Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grant. Yes. Hello, Scott. And hello, Alessandra.
Hey, Adelere. Did you hear me earlier when I assumed everyone was excellent, including you?
No, I didn't hear that. I was able to
Okay, I
connect
did.
my
I
dots.
assumed you, Alessandra, and Grant are all excellent.
Perfect. Yes, I am. Thank you. And I think that everyone is excellent too. Alrighty. Let's get into the um, study here. This is the imaginative billionaires concept by concept, or rather concept. So we are in this month, and this is a 1 month study from Mondays to Fridays. In this period, we're going to learn and master the state of being a billionaire, the concept of being a billionaire. Let's start with the first and most important thing required for this, and it is practice. Yes, practice. There is this phenomenal text of Neville, Fundamentals. When you read it, you'll find the action plan to include a number of things, but most of all, is this keyword practice. Now, in it, Neville said, the purpose of practicing detachment is to separate us from our present reactions to life and attach us to our aim in life. That's the purpose of it. But he then went further to clarify. This inner separation must be developed by practice. Do you see that? You really want to do that with respect to being a billionaire. You want to separate yourself from the current status you have, whatever, maybe it's just financially free, maybe it's thousandaire, to just being a billionaire. First thing you want to do, that separation, okay? Removing yourself from that old state and putting yourself in a new one. And it said this inner separation must be developed by practice. That's how you do it. That's how you get there. By practice. That's what we're going to be doing here. You use practice to separate yourself from the old state and to join and enter the new. So what is practice and how important is it here? How does it matter here? How relevant is it to the uh, imaginative billionaires concepts experience? Practicing, oftentimes we do it with reference to skills in these outer worlds that we're trying to learn. Like you want to learn how to ride a bicycle, right? Well, you practice it. You want to learn how to drive a car. Well, you practice it. You didn't know how to do it before, but then you still get to be asked to sit behind one and just steer away. Okay. Who knows? You might hit something on your day one or your day two. Okay. Maybe maybe actually rush into a bump or maybe just swerve in a way that's not usual or that's not proper, but still it's practice, so it's covered. Okay, you even have kind of like an insurance on it because you're practicing it. Any mistake you make can be written off as being, you know, just still under practice. So that happens, but it's still all practice. With respect to the skills, that's what you're doing, right? You're practicing, meaning you are repeatedly exposing yourself to that experience and very key thing about the practice. As you're exposing yourself to that experience, you're doing it in such a manner that you are methodical. right? You are actually methodical. Practice doesn't happen by you just say you get behind the steering wheel and you're just trying to get anywhere. I would say just pushing all the gears and pushing all the pedals. No, right? It doesn't happen by you just getting on the bicycle and then trying to just push all the pedals anyway, anyhow. No, you do it in a methodical way. And that's it when it becomes practice. All right. You're doing very specific set of things in a very specific way. And so it becomes practice. Because if it is just to do anything, well, that's not practice. And most of all, that's something you have been doing any other way anyway. I mean, for example, if it's just, oh, you're welcome. Okay, if it's just you're trying to drive and you're just like, okay, I can just turn my hand left or right. You don't have to drive before you do that. You can save your right your hands left or right. Even walking on the street, like you're dancing to music, you could be swerving your hands left or right doing that, right? Not practice, but you know what practice is? You're swerving left or right, and you're doing it in a methodical manner, whether cautiously, whether only a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Well, methodical. So that's practice. Another thing that constitutes practice or that's involved in practice. When you're practicing a new skill, you follow the method, you expose yourself to them regularly, and you actually make the exposure go on for a sustained period of time. You can't master driving a car if you say get on it the first day and you don't get on it for another 3 months. And then you come back on it again. And then you get on it for another 5 months. Then you come back. Then you get on it for another 8 months. Then you come back. Well, you're not gonna actually get out to drive a car, right? Obviously. But you keep telling people, oh, you know what? I tried to drive once. What do you mean you tried to drive once? Did you get it? Did you master it? No. So it's not mastered yet, right? But if you expose yourself to it frequently on a regular basis, then it becomes practice. You can actually say, I'm going to the practice or I'm practicing driving. But by that you mean not just this one action of me trying to drive now or learning to drive, but a repeated, continued experience of driving regularly. And that is practice, right? So that's it. So when you look at this, you find practice as a beautiful system through which we actually expose our minds to embody a state, even when that state is not something we are accustomed to at the beginning. By continuing to practice it, we become exposed to it. It then goes on from just mere practice to habit, and then from practice to mastery. There is a statement I heard all the way from childhood. Practice brings perfection, or practice makes perfect. And of course, the sense of it also includes that you've got things that delay, but that's not necessarily so. Practice doesn't have to mean to you that there is delay involved. Okay? Just want you to be clear about that. Practice doesn't have to mean there is delay involved. Say, you get on a bicycle to practice. Does that mean you stay on the same spot? No, right? You're actually moving. Might not be the kind of movement you'd have if you were, say, a master of it, and you could actually go on the best gears, and you could push with so much energy, and you could go in a straight line, and you could hit the farthest direction or go through whatever corners. No, maybe not that, but you're still not staying in the same spot. So practice doesn't mean absence of results. Let us be clear on that. And it's not just question for one. And if you change your meaning of practice to be to accommodate this, then you won't have any reason to be worried about whether you're practicing right, whether the practice is stopping you from getting results, whether because you're practicing you can be a billionaire. No, it doesn't mean any of that. You can actually practice, and while you're practicing, you're having results. In fact, while you're practicing being a billionaire, you could then have a billion or two in your account, but you're still practicing because you know what's going to happen when you master it? You have $500 billion, right? When you've mastered. So let us be clear on that. But practice is a beautiful gift because with it and through it, we can embody the states we would like to experience in this world in a very effortless manner. Also, without practice, you have to try so much intense effort on day one and day one only. Whether it produces result or not, it's gone. But with practice, you can actually take it in a methodical manner. Just use the method and repeat that over and over. Doesn't have to be so much. It just has to be methodical and it just has to be exact. When I was learning driving, my my instructor, she would always say, "Oh no, no, don't accelerate too much, just a little, stay on one, you know, of the rotations per minute. Stay on one. That's 1,000. Just stay on one. Okay, just that. Maintain it, maintain it. Don't go beyond. Okay." And then at the point she said, "Okay, you know what? Take it to 1.5 now. Just stay on that middle between one and two. Don't go beyond, and just keep going like that." And that was how she taught me. Okay. Now I got out of the training and well I had gone on 4,000 rotations per minute. I'd gone on 4,500, even 5,000 rotations per minute. Okay. I had done that long after the practice. But I didn't have to do that on day one. If I tried to do that on day one, oh God knows that I wouldn't get it right, right? So practice made it possible for me to do that little step, but consistently, and from there be able to build a habit into the experience. But that is all applied to the physical skills. What about the imaginal one? This is where imagination is superior. You may not have a place, an institute, um, a place that you can go into and say, okay, guys, I want you to, uh, I want to learn how to be a billionaire. I want to have the skills of being a billionaire. So I want to practice it and you just give me your used car. Like you can have a used car, right? You can have a learning car to do that with. I want to have a used billion or 2 billions, and just, use that to practice with. Maybe not. You want to learn a bicycle, you know what you do physically? You actually get one, right? And you start practicing with it. But now when it comes to billions, you don't get one and start practicing with it. No, it's not available. But because you have imagination, you can imagine that you have it. And that is even more powerful than the physical one. Because in the physical one, you could practice with it all that you care and still not actually accept it. But in the mental one, before you even practice, if you represent it to your mind, then you've definitely accepted it. You can do that. So practicing with your concept is super powerful. Okay. It's super powerful because with it, you can use your imagination to stimulate the experience you love to embody and dwell on it. And that, of course, expands or produces the result that you'd like to have. It expands your awareness. It refines your senses. It conditions your body and your life. Now, we practice detachment or inner separation that we may escape from the circle of our habitual reactions to life. That's the purpose of practice. And that is the first requirement that I want you to set your mind on from now on. Okay. All right. I've got some questions here from Scott. What is the difference between this practice? This practice is being, actually. Okay. This practice is being. For example, if you practice anything in this world, then what you're doing in the practice is you're being the person who has it or who is experiencing it, even though you weren't before you started the practice, right? So this practice is actually being. If you practice the concepts that you have billions, before you started the practice, you weren't. But practicing means you're actually being it in that moment, especially. So the more frequently you practice, the more you're being the experience. Now, this practice I'm talking about here is one that detaches you from your old concept and joins you with the new. That's why it is essential. It detaches you from the old concept and attaches you to the new. Do you get that, Scott? Okay. We are changing the meaning of practice to familiarize ourselves with the mastery of it. Yes, exactly. That's the new meaning of practice. And that's why um, I also mentioned that you don't have to have the sense or keep the sense anymore that practice is a time when you don't have results. No, actually, with practice, you have some results, but then you also mastering the experience so that you can then have much more results when you've mastered it. So that's practice. And that is the requirement. That's the first thing when I establish, cells tending to the result I'd like to produce. So let us go all the way to mastery by practice. Just start with practicing being a billionaire. And we're going to see a number of concepts in that regard in this study, Mondays to Fridays, 6 p.m. West African time here. We're going to see a number of lessons in that regard, which all point to one thing: be a billionaire in each of the concepts that we're going to do. And then you're going to practice that throughout your day, meaning you're going to be that, even though your physical world doesn't allow or accommodate it, you're still going to be it. And then you're going to keep being it until you've mastered being it. And all the way until that mastery produce results. I want you to make this the fundamental concept you have about practice, about being a billionaire, and about how your imagination functions in that respect. So I'll see you all tomorrow. And until then, bye bye.